want to stay a while or just passing through, this door is open to you. Come and let's be silent. Come and share a hug. Come, let's pray together. Come, love and be loved. From the blissed out to the turned out, from the pampered to the abused, this door is open to you. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. The God in us recognizes the God in you. The God in you. Whether you're black or white, gay or straight, Christian, Buddhist or Jew, this door is open to you. If there's some kind of trouble or pain you're going through, know that you are not.
Good morning, everybody. This door is open to you. I want to welcome each and every one of you this morning to a chilly, cold morning. Welcome those of you that are in the warm building, and those of us that are here, would you turn and wave at our camera, the live stream. We want to welcome those of you that are joining us virtually this morning via live stream. No matter where you are, where you're coming from, you are in the right place. We truly are here to uphold spiritual oneness, to enrich each other's lives, and to inspire compassionate living. We begin our time together in prayer. I invite you to turn your awareness within. As we turn our awareness within, we greet this day together. So each and every one of us have arrived at this place. We invite the fullness of our being to fully be here right now. We enter into that place of gratitude, a place that is always able to recognize the gift, the potential, the ultimate reality. Today we open to a concept called Bring Your Own. What does that mean for us? How do we apply it? We open this day that we may be enriched and blessed, and thereby that we may be an enriching presence, a blessing in our world. For this time together, we're truly grateful. Thank you, God, and so it is. Amen. I again want to thank each and every one of you for being here this morning. If you've not yet turned your cell phones off, those of you that are in the building, we ask if you would turn those off or put them on airplane mode. It really helps things around here. I want to invite up Reverend Gabby Michael. You see her stand because she is the director of our youth program, but you may or may not know that she is also a singer-songwriter. And so I asked her to share this morning our opening song, and for her just to tell you a little bit about who is Gabby Michael. Would you please welcome Reverend Gabby?
Well, like she said, I'm the Youth and Family Minister Director. And during the pandemic, I actually sort of did a bunch of videos for the kids, like 50 or so, with Reverend Barbara Ann. And one of the music videos that I did was Shine Like the Sun, which I'm going to do this morning, and it's a Dolly Parton song that I sort of rewrote because it was about, you know, a breakup or something like that. So I thought I would rewrite it for kind of a spiritual thing. So that's what I'm going to do this morning. And some of you know that I love Dolly Parton with every fiber of my being. So anyway, that's where I am. Thank you.
Won't let the rain bring me down, silver linings on what I hate for. gonna shine like the sun. I've been sitting home lately thinking how much our world needs to improve. People are suffering in more ways than I ever knew. How can I make a difference for people who are in such pain? If we lift up each other, we'll have nothing but love to gain. I'm gonna shine like the sun, even though there are clouds at my door. I will stand with my brothers and sisters till they hurt no more. I'll be swinging on sunbeams, so proud that we finally won. Together standing as one, we're gonna shine like the sun. Shine, shine like the sun. Shine, shine like the sun. We'll be out chasing rainbows, rejoicing and having our fun. Together standing as one, we're gonna shine like the sun. Together standing as one, I'm gonna shine like the sun.
That was absolutely awesome. She didn't say this, but her stepdad is Peter Marshall, the game show host of, and so she actually grew up around Dolly Parton. She wrote another song titled "What Would Dolly Do?" that we'll get her to sing at some point in time. But Reverend Gabby and Reverend Barbara Ann, would you please stand? And our young people, we do have our Sunday school program. And so if we have any young people that are not already in the back, but you'd like to be a part of the program, we invite them over. And we always bless our youth with a blessing that says, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divinity in you. To our young people, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divinity in you. Simon says, that's a big blessing. That's awesome. We also extend that blessing to anyone that may be here for the first time or joining us virtually for the first time. If you're in the building and you raise your hand, we will do our very best to bring you one of these connection cards. We also have them out in the lobby, and they're around if you'd like to pick up one of these. They have a heart, and if you wear the heart, it lets us acknowledge you as a first-time guest, and we can welcome you. But whether it's your first time or whether it's your spiritual home, whether it's your first time online or whether you make it a part of your spiritual practice to join us, let us affirm that blessing to one another that says, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divinity in you. We want to thank you for that. Well, we are gearing up. How many of you are ready for Thanksgiving? How many of you cannot believe that Christmas is like 5 weeks away? That it just has really, really happened fast this year, it does seem. I want to give a shout out of appreciation to Nancy Thompson, one of our new members, who's going to join Reverend Christy and help us with the holiday decorating this year. We have so many that are faithful in helping, and one of our new members is going to help this year. So Nick, it's this Friday, Christy, right?
Yes.
What time Friday?
11.
If you would like to be Christmas elf spirit on Friday and you're around, see Reverend Christy, and she can let you know what kind of things can be available. But the main thing is coming out and helping decorate and set up for Christmas. So when we come back next Sunday, we'll have that beautiful, glorious experience. So I want to just remind you of that. I also want to take just a moment and ask someone to come up front, and that is Deb Materi. Now, she did not know I was going to do this, but Deb, would you please come on up front? If you were here for the homecoming weekend and you enjoyed a fabulous meal, this lady prepared it pretty much on her own. We also had about 30 people here last Thursday night, board and staff and team leaders, because we periodically meet, and we hadn't met since COVID happened. And let's get this untangled, because we want to baptize you, because we know that the special ingredient that Deb Vatiri puts in her food is love. So we just want to acknowledge you, Deb, that it's no, I told somebody if I had to prepare that meal, I would have been crying the whole week before. Some people actually do that on purpose. They think it's fun to cook meals for giant groups of people. She can just whip it out. We have a gift for you, but we want to extend this blessing to you and just open up and let everybody tell you, Deb, that we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divinity in you. We also celebrate the Italian in you, Deb.
Since we got this, okay, and she brought me up here, and you guys know I love that song. Melody, give me that tune.
What tune?
Play that tune that you play when Darlene does that.
I'm glad she doesn't know it, Deb. Go sit down.
There you go.
What's the
There you
tune?
go. Just give me a little couple of notes, Melody.
Are you going to sing it?
I love you. Yes, you. Hello?
Oh, Deb. Deb, thank you so much. Now I know what she's saying. Give me that tune. Like I always say, Richard, give me that song. Reverend Christy Corna, our associate minister, is going to share the inspirational reading today.
Good morning, everyone. Is this on? Am I on? Awesome. Great. This morning's reading is from the Daily Word, and it's on gratitude, being grateful. I'm grateful I get to live with that one and eat like that pretty much every day. So the reading today is entitled Grateful. I am wonderfully blessed and so grateful. Today I am grateful to reap a bountiful harvest of love and joy. I give thanks for my many blessings, especially for the love of God in all the wondrous ways in which love manifests. I am grateful for my family and friends, those who give my life meaning and depth. I am grateful for the roof over my head and for the comfort of warmth and security. I am grateful for the food I have to eat, food that nourishes me and keeps me healthy. Mostly, I am grateful for the presence of God in my life and the awareness that God is not only around me, God is within me. From my divinity, I give thanks for prosperity, peace, and joy, the sweetest blessings I could ever want. And from Psalm 100, enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him. Bless his name.
Love is alive in the space between us. Feel that love right now. God speaks out in the worlds between us. Hear those words right now. I am holy. You are holy. There is beauty between us. Spirit shines in the light between us. See that light right now. Peace is born in the good between us. Be that peace right now. I am holy. You are holy. There is beauty between us. Faith is the bond that we share between us. Hold that faith right now. Truth is the life in the breath between us. Live that truth right now. I am holy. You are holy. There is beauty between us. Faith is the bond that we share between us. Hold that faith right now. Truth is the life in the breath between us. Live that truth right now. You are holy. We are holy. There is beauty between us. Holy faith between us. Love is alive in the space between us. Feel that love right now.
Whoa, Cat Williams, and this amazing unity band with Melody Cooper today. Dave, Melody, Joel, Joey, Pete, and Cat Williams. Would you show them your love and appreciation? Thank you so much. Wow. Alive and between us. Today we are in that week where we stand on the threshold of Thanksgiving and many different holy days. The different spiritual holidays begin to take place, and that means that it's a joyful time, and it also means it can be a stressful time. It means it's a time of gathering and with family, but it also means it's a time sometimes of gathering with in-laws and outlaws. And it can be great conversations, and it can be really controversial conversations. And so I was thinking about that, and I wanted us to sort of go back to the basics today, but perhaps look at it through a new lens and new eyes. And so the acronym that I want to use today is something that you're very familiar with. It's BYO. You know what that stands for? Bring your own. And it's usually referred to bring your own beverage. When we were meeting outdoors, we said, bring your own lawn chair. When my big family gathers, or when I go to Deb's to eat, we say, bring your own Tupperware, because there's going to be good leftovers. Bring your own. Well, I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, but I believe that Jesus may have been the originator of BYO because he said, bring your own light. Bring your own light. He said, don't hide it under a bushel. Don't wait for somebody else. Bring your own embodied, radiant presence. So to make that fun and easy to remember, we're going to start a new one that is bring your own. Let's do that together. Bring your own. And don't leave home without it. Now, for some of you, that may be all you remember through this, but they're like, I like that. Bring your own. Don't leave home without it. But it means bring your own light. Bring your own embodied, radiant presence. And what does it look like when we do that? My previous ministry was in the greater Seattle area, Washington State. We had a fabulous youth program, and one of our youth workers, Michelle, her little daughter, Lily Kate, was always a part of the Sunday school program. That's the thing about if mom is part of a Sunday school teacher, then the kids are always kind of have to be there. And so Lily Kate was known for being very, how shall we say, an interesting child. She marched to the rhythm of her own little drummer. She was this brilliant, bright light, and she was quite mischievous. She was so fun. And her mom shared this story with me one day, and I've since asked for permission to use it, and she gave it to me in writing so I could share this about Lily Kate. Now, the thing you need to know is in that Sunday school program, and what we do in the Sunday school programs is when all the children gather, the teens, the young, all of them, they begin by lighting a candle. And they're teaching the children that we all have a light within us. Not only do we have it within us, but we are light. We are the light of the world. We're the light of God. And our whole thing about life is knowing that and living that. So Lily Kate had been experiencing that. So her 4-year-old little self, this is what her mom said. Lily Kate was about 4 at the time, and we were home alone, and there was a knock at the door. I answered the door to 2 police officers telling me they had received a 911 call from our residence. I knew immediately it was Lily Kate because she had already tried her 911 dialing skills on size twice before. I explained to the officers that I needed their assistance in explaining to my child the importance of 911. And they were happy to help, and so I called Lily Kate outside, and all 3 of us explained to her what an emergency was and exactly what 911 was for and what it was not to be used for. She was a little scared, and in between sniffles, she said she understood, and I thanked the officers, and they grinned a little, and then they left. Lily Kate and I came back in the house, and I asked if she understood what we were teaching her, to which she matterly of fact said, I understand, Mom. I guess I just let my Christ light go out for a minute. A 4-year-old. So, do you know there are times that you show up and you kind of forget that you are bringing your own light? That sometimes we show up, and that's why it's a great teaching to bring your own bring your own light. Don't leave home without it. Bring your own embodied, radiant presence. Now, to make it practical, especially for the holidays are about this embodied, radiant presence. We're going to really be digging into that over the next few weeks. But to begin to really make it practical, this embodied, radiant presence, I want to look at it through the lens of to bring your embodied, radiant light, to breathe it, to radiate it, and to rest assured in it. Breathe it, radiate it, rest assured in it. We begin with breathe it. I'm curious, how many of you, if you had the opportunity to travel to outer space, would do it? I'd do it in a heartbeat. How many of you, if you had the opportunity, or maybe you've taken the opportunity to put on scuba gear, if you had the opportunity to go into the ocean, how many would you do that? I wouldn't do that one. Now, whether you would go to outer space or go deep into the sea, there's something for sure you would have to bring. You'd have to bring your own oxygen. When we talk about breathe it, it's helpful to remember that we have to breathe and bring your own spiritual oxygen. Amen? It's a powerful, the imagery is very powerful when you begin to realize that you are breathing your own breath. You're being breathed. But what if you would look at it like that? That anytime you travel out anywhere, anytime you're up and awake, to be mindful to bring your own spiritual oxygen, to breathe it. There's a scripture in the Bible, it talks about that we're to pray without ceasing. And I was thinking about that one day, and I thought, how can you do anything without ceasing? I mean, what can you do in your life without ceasing? You breathe. As long as you're on this earth plane, you're breathing, or you're being breathed. Another way of saying pray without ceasing is to let your very breath become a prayer. Is to take some time with conscious breathing, to learn how to do that, but to realize that to be the embodied, radiant presence, it needs to be as close as your breath, that it's always right there. And so the first thing this week that we look at is to breathe it. Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, a couple called Charles and Myrtle Fillmore back in the late 1800s, created what we call this movement of unity. They never meant for it to be an end-all, be-all. It was always meant to be a path of awakening, a path that complemented anybody that wanted to begin to work with some principles and ideas that were universal. Myrtle Fillmore had been in the end stages of her life in the late 1800s with tuberculosis when she heard an idea that said, you're a child of God, you don't inherit sickness, you inherit the life of God. And she began to breathe in that idea that her life, she inherited the greater life. Well, her husband, in about 18 months, she was completely healed. Her husband had witnessed all of that, and he knew that something remarkable had happened, and he made it what he said is, I want to go directly to headquarters. I want to find out what this is. And so every day for 1 hour, he would sit in a rocking chair and close his eyes, and his purpose was, I want to breathe in this infinite mind. I want to breathe in this wisdom. I want to become available to it. I want to know it as a part of me. Later in his life, he wrote, I am now in the presence of pure being and immersed in the Holy Spirit of life and love and wisdom. I acknowledge thy presence and thy power, O blessed Spirit. In thy wisdom now erase my mortal limitations, and from thy pure substance of love bring into manifestation my world according to thy perfect law. He would often say, I am now immersed in the presence of pure being. What a great mantra to have on the tip of your breath. To be that light, to shine that light. As I said, just as Jesus said, you are the light of the world. Bring it out. The Buddha says that the Buddha nature is always present in all times and in all beings. But it can only be known by the awakened heart-mind. We have to bring it. We have to breathe it to life. The Tao Te Ching says the Tao is like a well. It is used but never used up. It's filled with infinite possibility. It's always present, but it's hidden. It's up to us to bring it to life. Ralph Waldo Emerson said it this way, what lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. So to bring your own light is the first to let that be the spiritual oxygen that you breathe, to breathe it. The second then is to radiate it. I told you recently that I went into a restaurant and I giggled when I saw a sign that said, we bless everyone, some when they enter and some when they leave. And that's because your presence is bigger than the person that you are. When we radiate, it's to realize, yeah, I breathe the light, but I also radiate. Each of you radiate your energy, your ideas, you radiate your presence. I saw a very funny, someone sent me this week this funny image of this tambourine, if you can see it. It says, if you can see this, it's in the shower caddy. It says, in case you start thinking about the goodness of God in the shower. Now, the reason they sent that to me and the reason that is so funny is because I grew up in the Pentecostal church where you may get out that tambourine and start when the Spirit hits you. But the point was, you kind of had to wait for the Spirit to hit you, for it to show up. And that's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is, Jesus said, the light's there. Your thing is to radiate it. Don't wait for those high moments to just move you. Realize you're always radiating it. When I was in seminary, I had the pleasure, one of my communications teacher was the Reverend Sky St. John. He's no longer on this earth plane, but he was a dynamic man, singer. He had been in theater. He was just a great speaker and teacher and friend. He told a story one day that I really stuck in my mind. He said there was a young boy in Ireland that had a voice like no other. This little boy would sit on his front porch and sing, and people would literally come out and just be in their yard because the boy sang so beautifully. As he grew to be a young man, it just continued to grow until one day someone said, listen, you're so good, you need to be on the stage. And they convinced him to go down to the town square, to the auditorium. And so when word got out that he was going to be there, it filled up. And he got there, brought his guitar, and he walked out on stage, and he looked, and he literally could not move. He couldn't move, he couldn't sing, he literally couldn't move. So his mom had to get up and get him and help him get off stage. He went back to his home and back to that front porch, and he said, well, I just don't belong anywhere else. This is where I belong. And so he continued singing only on his front porch. A couple of years later, someone from the United States, a recording studio man, heard about this guy and went out and heard him and was just blown away and said, listen, you are so good. You need to record. You need to be in auditoriums. And he said, nope, I can't. I tried that. I can't do that. This is where I'm supposed to be. And he said, but what if I could show you that you could go into that auditorium and you could show up there just like you do here? He said, no, I tried it. I froze. I can't. But he convinced him. He said, let's just the two of us go back to that auditorium. Let's just you and me in that empty auditorium, and I want to show you something. So he convinced the young man to go, and the young man went in, and he stood up on stage, and he said, how do you feel? And the young man said, I don't feel at home. This feels strange. It feels weird. I don't want to be here. Even thinking about people coming in makes me nauseous. I don't want to be here. And he said, that's very normal. So now I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to just, in your mind's eye, go back to your porch. I want you to think about how you feel. And he said a smile come up on that young man's face immediately. And he began to say, well, when I'm at home, I feel like this, and I'm really connected to my song, and I'm free, and I'm safe. And he really connected him with that feeling. And he said, now just open your eyes. And he said, I want you to send that feeling to that corner of the room. Now I want you to send that feeling to that corner of the room. Now I want you to send that feeling to that corner, and now I want you to send it to that feeling, that corner. And I want you to see that now this room is filled with your song. It's filled with your presence. It's filled with your aura. It is filled with your safety, with your well-being. And no matter who comes or who doesn't come, whenever you stand and whenever you show up, it's about you being able to share your radiant gift, your radiance. Reverend Sky, and so that young man was able to then begin performing and became a very popular artist. Reverend Sky St. John, the communications teacher, was teaching us that. He said, when you go into places, sometimes you feel home, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you feel supported, sometimes you don't. You may be asked to go down and have an interfaith conversation, and everybody else there believes different than you do. You have to learn that wherever you go, you carry your own spiritual oxygen and you carry your own radiance. You have to learn how to fill that space. That wherever you go, you fill the space because you're filling it anyway. And you can either fill it with worrying about what they think and what they're doing and what their temperature is, or you can be your own thermostat and carry your own presence and set the space. I'll never forget that. But this is the reason I won't forget it. Flash forward 1 year, I had graduated. Now I am in my first ministry in Lawrence, Kansas. I get a call one day that one of the elders in the church, her name was Maxine. Maxine had volunteered in the church office. The reason I knew so much about Maxine volunteering at the church office is because the only way she would volunteer in the church office is if she could bring her country music and listen to it. So everyone got to enjoy it. She loved music. So Maxine had been in the hospital, but I got a call and they said, something has happened, she's got to go in for emergency surgery, and the chances are she may not come out. And she will not go in until she said her minister needs to come here first. And that's when I got the call. So I got to Lawrence Memorial Hospital as fast as I could. When I walked into Maxine's room, there were all kind of medical professionals. And when I started to walk in, they all turned and stepped back a little. I turned to see who was coming in. And then I realized it was me. And the severity of it really hit me. I went over to her bedside and, exchanged greetings. She was very weak. But I said, I'll pray with you. How can I support you? And she said, sing the Lord's Prayer. I said, you want me to say the Lord's Prayer? Sing the Lord's Prayer. I looked and I said, she wants us to sing the Lord's Prayer. Every head dropped, and they went as far away from us as they possibly could. As I started to turn my head back, my eye caught that board. In a hospital room, that board where the patient name and stuff is written. I don't even know if it had dawned on me her full name, but her name was Maxine Ireland. I kid you not. As soon as I saw Maxine Ireland, it reminded me of the story and that young boy. Because here I was thinking, sing the Lord's Prayer by myself, a cappella, in a hospital room with all these people standing around looking. And you're nervous and it's so hard to sing. But when I saw Ireland and I remembered that story, I closed my eyes and we had a prayer together. And then, our Father, sing with me, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. I got through the song. She had tears running and she said, I'm at peace. But there wasn't a dry eye behind me. Through that, I got the folks that were in that room that witnessed that. I became known as the singing minister. Thank God I never had to sing in the hospital again. But here's what happened as a result of that. There had been, and typically always are, patients in the hospital with HIV/AIDS. And quite often the hospital chaplains are not very kind, quite frankly, to those patients. And sometimes will make it their goal to have that patient repent because they believe they're damned for hell. Through that experience, that hospital came to me and said, will you be the one we can call that will work with all of our AIDS patients? And I said, yes, I will. And so when I was in Lawrence, I had the privilege of doing that. You see, you just never know. You never know when you choose to and are willing to radiate your light. You may be asked to sing, probably not. You may be called on to pray publicly, probably not. But it will stretch you, definitely. It stretches you, though, in the way that you're made to be stretched. You see, I wasn't asked to do anything I couldn't do. I didn't want to do it. I absolutely didn't want to do it. I didn't even remember if I could remember the words, quite frankly. But when you set out to just do your best and radiate, something kicks in, because do you realize you're now becoming, the reason that Jesus said shine your light is because you are the light. You're a channel. You begin to channel that light. And so, first of all, is to bring your own, is to breathe it, breathe your own spiritual oxygen, but then to radiate it, to be willing to radiate it as you and only you can. You don't have to tell people you're radiating. It's actually best if you don't, because quite frankly, they usually don't want to hear about it. They're like, good for you. You don't have to do anything. What you do is you set your intention. We talked about this last week of blessing. You choose to be a blessing, and you choose to let your light shine. You set your own temperature. You let your light shine. And that brings us to the third one, which is to rest assured. Now, my friends, we all need something to rest in and to be able to rest assured about and in. And you can rest in that presence and in that light. I often hear people say to me, I shouldn't feel that way, Reverend Darlene. I shouldn't feel that way. I know I should be positive. I shouldn't feel sad. I shouldn't feel hurt, anger, resentment, fill in the blank. And when anybody will say that out loud to me, I appreciate it, because it gives me the opportunity to say, why shouldn't you feel that way? We all feel the way we feel. And Rumi said it beautifully. These pains are your messengers. Listen to them. I say, don't shoot the messenger. Your emotions, your feelings are just that. Just like in the ocean of life, you have the crest of the wave and the trough of the wave. You have highs and lows. That I always say, your feelings and your emotions are there to make a point. They just want you to get the point. They're not there as your whole presence. And so, however you feel is however you feel. But don't get stuck at the surface level of the feeling, because that feeling can connect you with the greater presence, and you can rest assured in that. I'm going to ask Melody and the band to come up. I want to share with you a final story, a true story. How many of you have heard of the sleeping prophet, Edgar Cayce? I think most of you many of you recognize that name. He was called the father of holistic medicine. He's the most documented psychic of the 20th century. His readings and his material have been preserved by the Edgar Cayce Institute. They continue to make his work. He's no longer on this earth plane, but they make his work available. But the Edgar Cayce Institute, they also find other stories, true stories, things that have been documented, and they share that continue to enhance his body of work. So I was looking at some stuff recently of his, and something caught my eye. Donna, would you give me that image? I thought, what is this doing in the Edgar Cayce stuff? Because it was the cover of Guidepost little magazine. How many of you recognize that Guidepost? It was a booklet that Norman Vincent Peale used to write. And on the cover of this magazine is a young woman named Barbara Kaminsky. And in this particular issue, she is telling her story, and her story goes like this. Melody, would you give me that? She said, in 1965, I'd been a typical active 15-year-old who loved gymnastics, played the flute in high school, I worked an afternoon job, and I headed the youth group in my church. My mother said she hadn't seen me sit still for 10 minutes in the last 3 years. But then weird things started happening. One day in gym class, I couldn't get my left hand to work properly. The next day I slipped, and I started having these weird mishaps. Finally, in 1970, the doctor recognized it and said, Barbara, you have MS, multiple sclerosis. It doesn't usually hit people this young, but unfortunately, there's not a lot we can do about it. By 1978, she was in a wheelchair, her hands and feet curled, useless. She required oxygen and her vital organs were going into complete failure. The Mayo Clinic said, there is nothing we can do to stop the deterioration. She said, after the visit to the Mayo Clinic, I felt a new sense of urgency. The less physical health I had, the more I yearned for spiritual health. I cried out to God, I have to have something to do. I can barely move, but I craved action and activity. I needed purpose and action in my life. One day it came to me so clearly, pray for others, bless others. Up until that thought came to me, I'd seen prayer as passive, but now I saw that prayer and blessing could be my gymnastics, my flute playing, my activity. And so I set out that was my new purpose, to bless others and to pray for others and to commune with her God. And she said, I spent most of my hours doing that. Still, my condition continued to worsen, and by the 1981, my family started working with hospice. And then came that day in June 7, 1981. Shortly after noon, two of my friends, Joyce and Angela, popped in. And the three of us were visiting, but I heard a fourth voice. And the fourth voice said, get up and walk. She said, I looked at them and realized they didn't hear that voice, but again, it was so loud, get up and walk. She said, Joyce, Angela, go get my family, something's happening. She said, this energy began to move through me, and while they were out of the room, I pulled off my oxygen tube. I removed the braces from my arm, and by the time my family came in, I was standing on two legs that hadn't held the weight of my body in over 5 years. She said, there I stood firmly, and I could breathe. My hands were normal. They were not curled. Any muscles had just somehow filled out. My friend Angela was an occupational therapist, and she almost passed out because she said, it is impossible. This is not possible. No one in her family believed it was possible, but they cried, they celebrated. The next day, they took her to the doctor. She said, for 3 hours, the doctors x-rayed me, they ran me through every test, and they couldn't believe what happened. The film showed normal legs, normal lungs. Before, one was completely collapsed and the other was functioning at 50%. Finally, Dr. Marshall shook his head in amazement. Dr. Harold Adolph summed up the case by saying, at the present time, the patient has no findings of multiple sclerosis, walks normally, speaks normally, and is very happy, as is her family. Over the obvious answer to prayer and the good hands of God in her life. One of the last things she writes is, I don't know why God healed me. I don't believe I earned or deserved healing any more than I believed I earned or deserved MS. I only know that on the morning of June 7th, 1981, I felt good about myself. I felt good about myself, and I was at peace, resting in a greater purpose and a greater presence. To me, that's the absolute cure. Now, Edgar Casey says, sometimes when we hear these stories, we ask how, we ask why. He said, whatever you ask, don't forget the main point, it happened. He said, we all ask ourselves, is our goal a cure, or is the goal to be at peace and on purpose wherever we are? Barbara went on to be 71 years old, and there's her picture. She just passed away last year. Now, why do I share that with you? Because, you see, I don't personally believe that healing takes place the way we want it to take place. I believe that on the earth plane, we're all going to die. That means different things will be the reason. I do believe our ultimate goal is to know wholeness beyond any outer circumstance or situation. And so I share the story with you because it happens. It can happen. There is a presence. To bring your own is to breathe it, to radiate it, and to rest assured in it. And to let our purpose be to be on purpose and to be at peace. Mary Baker Eddy, in her seminal work, Science and Health, opens it up by saying, to those leaning on the sustaining infinite, today is big with blessings. To those leaning on the sustaining infinite, bring your own. We're going to use this song by Karen Drucker that's a beautiful mantra that says, I breathe in and I breathe out. I take in and I give out. I let love. I let love. I let go. I let go. I release. I release. And I know. And I know. Once again, melody. So I breathe in and I breathe out. I take in. I take in and I give out. And I give out. I let love. I let love. And I let go. And I let go. I release. I release. And I know. One more time. I breathe in. And I breathe out. I take in. I take in. And I give out. And I give out. I let love. I let love. And I let go. I release. I release. And I know. I invite you to close your eyes, and when you do, to smile. When you close your eyes and you smile, you activate that within you that is connected to the joy of your soul. When you close your eyes and you smile, it's not at the expense or in the attempt to spiritually bypass whatever may be truly going on in your life, but it is to realize that in the midst of whatever appears before me, and in the rearview mirror of whatever has taken place in the past, that I draw my life, and my life is a greater presence. That I have the ups and downs, I have experiences, and yet they do not define all that I am. And so whatever begins to happen in the landscape of our life, we begin to realize it is as the currents of life, the wave of the ocean. And yes, we feel them, and yes, we are invested. But we are anchored in an identity. We are anchored in a reality of being that is large enough to hold it all and to hold us. And we don't have to know how. It's about being willing. It's about being willing to bring your light, to bring your om, to breathe your spiritual oxygen, breathe in the truth of your identity, your nature, and to radiate it, to realize that you are already filling the space with this room, but to bring awareness to it and to fill it with your best intentions, your highest and best way of showing up. And then it's about resting assured that there is a power and a presence that is the essence of all that I am, and yet it is so much more than anything I know myself to be. And so I rest in that. I rest in the knowing that there is a presence that guides my life. There is a peace that is bigger than anything I may or may not understand. And there is a purpose that if I open to being that light, that sense of fulfillment and purpose and peace can always be present, even in the midst of whatever else is there. And so we look forward together to this season's holidays, holy days. We see different people, different tribe, different faiths, We see people practicing their way of celebrating the light through different traditions. We see people doing their best and passing along what they have to pass along. And in the midst of all of that, we ask to be completely immersed in the light of our being, to breathe it, to radiate it, and to rest assured in it, that we may be blessed in our own life and that we may be a blessing in the greater life. So I breathe in and I breathe out and I take in and I give out and I let love and I let go. I release and I know. I invite you to open your eyes, wiggle your fingers and toes to get yourself fully back. How many of you are willing to play with that imagery of bring your om? Bring your om, breathe it, radiate it, rest assured in it. Would you please stand and let us sing this together? So I breathe in and I breathe out and I take in and I give up. I let love and I let go. I release and I know. One more time. I breathe in, I breathe out, I take in and I give up. I let love and I let go. I release and I know. And I bring my own. We can do better than that. And I bring my your embodied, radiant presence. Wow, that was awesome. Thank you. And if you feel so inclined, just bring your tambourine in your shower. You never know where the Holy Spirit may strike you. Thank you so much. You may be seated. I'm going to invite Kat up. She's going to prepare for a song, but I also want to acknowledge Michael Winter as the co-chair of this year's Keeper of the Light team. Come on up, Michael. We have a group of people that help us with a program that is called Keepers of the Light. We call it KOTL. Keepers of the Light means that as a part of what we create here, it's about providing the provision that makes it possible. And so Michael, I think, has a little information to share with you today as we have a few more weeks this year when we're asking people to make some pledges about next year. Is that correct?
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving week. If you're like me, you're thinking about gratitude, giving thanks, and pie. Our church budget is also pie, a different kind of pie. We may look at money like cherry or pumpkin, pecan, and we need to know how to slice up that income and expenses so we know best how to serve this loving congregation. And that's why we need Keepers of the Light pledges. The funds, aptly named, pay the utility bills, the staff, outreach programs, music, and yes, the light bills. Pledges are instrumental in planning next year's budget, which Darlene and her team are working on now. Practically speaking, a pledge is an estimate of your planned giving, a statement of intent for the coming year. It's signing up. It's like signing up for the Thanksgiving meal to confirm that you're going to show up at the table. You're going to be there for the meal. It may change. Your oven may break. You may switch from rolls to salad, or you may have an unexpected windfall and bring the main course. This year, 2022, our Keepers of the Light pledges totaled just under $142,000, about half of our annual pie. We anticipate next year's expenses to be about $372,000, and to date, the pledges that have come in are at about $50,000. So we need to bring that number up. Every bit of money donated to the church is sustenance for our spiritual community, and it keeps it thriving. You can pay weekly, you can pay monthly, you can pay by check, you can pay by credit card or bank draft. I did learn that you can't pledge animals. If you were here for the homecoming, the donkeys did not want to leave, and I asked Rev Christie if we could tithe the donkeys, and she said unequivocally, no, no. Pledge forms are on the table out front. It's available online. And we ask that you look within and let us know what we can count on for next year, knowing that it might change. And now I've lost the place. I brought the Soul of Money. Darlene gave a course a couple years ago on Lynn Twist's book, The Soul of Money, and this particularly struck home with me. Money's like water. It can be a conduit for commitment, a currency of love. Money's moving in the direction of our highest commitments, nourishes our world and ourselves. What you appreciates. When you make a difference with what you have, it expands. Collaboration creates prosperity. True abundance flows from enough, never from more. Money carries our intention. If we use it with integrity, then it carries integrity forward. Know the flow. Take responsibility for the way your money moves in the world. Let your soul inform your money, and your money express your soul. Access your assets, not only money, but your own character and capabilities, your relationships, and other non-monetary resources.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael. Part of the projected increase next year is we do anticipate going back to 2 Sunday morning services at some point in time, yeah. And we're also even looking at some possible evening service, so stay tuned as we continue to come back from COVID. We'll be doing that. Cat Williams is going to sing a song by Eddie Watkins Jr., which is really it really has become our mantra, and it is the perfect kind of echo for today's idea. The song says, I am the place God shows up. Show up, Cat, show up.
Hold on, let me turn the light on. Am I strong enough to bear the burden that sometimes comes with living this thing called life? Am I wise enough to make the right decision when I'm standing at the fork in the road? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone and there's nothing I have to do on my own, because I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the the place where God shows up. Will I have enough to do the things I need to do to take care of myself? Will I have enough, the mind and body, to live a life of grace and wholeness? Sometimes I wonder and I ponder, only to realize I'm not alone and there's nothing I have to do on my own, because I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. Place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place. You are the place. That God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place that God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up.
Yes. Wow. Cat Williams and that band, that was so good. Oh, and it was so good seeing some of you, the Spirit move you out there. It's a beautiful thing. We like to bring our time together to close. Actually, I'm about to forget something. I'm going to invite our ushers and our prayer chaplains to come forward as a reminder that prayer is a part of the foundation of who we are at Unity. We have a prayer box in the back. You can always leave a prayer request, and we'll be holding your request in prayer. Diane Swift is bringing that up, and Joe Wegner, one of our board members, is bringing up one of the blue boxes. As Michael said, it takes provision, it takes substance to make this work. It takes our money. And so we give what is ours to give in a way that matters. We don't yet pass the offering plates, but these blue boxes are around in here. We have a text. There are several ways to give online, and most of you are giving virtually. So we want to thank you for those gifts. We want to thank you for entrusting us with your prayers, and our prayer chaplains are available to pray with you after the service. And so we bless and affirm all of this together by saying, divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am now in perfect balance and flow with the universal tides of giving and receiving. Thank you, God, and so it is. And then together, if you'll stand, our closing prayer by James Dillard Freeman that says, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Sing us out, Cat Williams. Have a wonderful week of Thanksgiving, and bring your own.
Strong enough to bear the burden that sometimes comes with living this thing called life. Am I wise enough to make the right decision when I'm standing at the fork in the road? Sometimes I wonder and I ponder, only to realize I'm not alone and there's nothing I have to do on my own, because I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows